Kidney disease, renal failure, whatever tag you want to hang on it, there's very few stories that have happy endings. Sure, transplants see people return to some level of normality, albeit with a harsh medication regime and a dialysis regime, both hemo and or peritoneal. They provide sufferers with a small element of a normal life, but it is tedious, debilitating, and for the most part physically and emotionally trying. People with kidney failure put up with an awful lot in silence, but from my own experience I can tell you that your headspace is severely impaired, and you know from the outset that things are not normal and everything in your life's affected. It can also take away from you so much. Relationships, freedom to do normal things, the pleasure of eating, the way you feel about yourself, your esteem, your personality transforms in a lot of instances. My kidney journey commenced in April 2014 when I contracted Legionella disease, which attacked my kidneys, and by the time I presented at hospital, things were not looking good, as I had believed for a week or so previously that I had the flu, as the symptoms were virtually identical. By the time the diagnosis was made, I was in real trouble, and the staff at St Vincent's Hospital put in a temporary line to dialyse me immediately, and as one doctor told me, without it, you may not make it through the night. So began my initial trip on the roller coaster, with hemodialysis being the first option presented to me. Even on my release from St Vincent's, it was 3 days a week, every day, back to the hospital for treatment, and a dietary regime that was so totally different to the way I previously ate. After 3 months on hemo, I took the option of doing peritoneal dialysis 4 times a day at home via manual exchanges. I had to learn to inject myself and take a very big step from doing dialysis outside of the confines of the hospital. After a few months of that, I transferred to PD on the machine for 9 hours a night, 7 days a week. As my kidney journey progressed, I watched things I had previously assumed were forever things in my life fall by the wayside. I stopped getting invited places. "He can't come, he's on dialysis," etc. were considerations people made when handing out invites. My nightlife was gone, your sex life was non-existent, your finances take a significant hit, your ability to work is diminished or taken away totally, your friends felt uncomfortable as they knew nothing of what you were going through, and even less about kidney disease, and let's face it, I knew nothing about it till I contracted it either. There were times I had to work so hard to keep the hamster on its wheel and prevent the situation from enveloping me. There were so many times my mindset had to be recalibrated and my emotions had to be reasoned with to adjust to the situation. Initially, what kept me going was the hope that the kidneys may resume their normal function, but that was all shattered 12 months down the track when my nephrologist, Dr. Tim Furlong, told me that that was unlikely to happen. I recall one day Dr. Furlong saying to me that I had handled the situation pretty well, adding that if the same thing had happened to him, he would have been shitty at the world for 12 months. I figured I had no option but to cope, watch things disintegrate around me and just manage the illness as best I could. People thought I was coping simply because I did not bleed all over their carpets, but I was living my life in quiet despair. Music, reading and my dogs were my grounding factor. After all, there was nothing else, so I had to find pleasure in them. I also had to keep reminding myself of how much better off I was than other people I had met at St Vincent's, and that took the why me factor out of my mindset. After being told hope was gone, I went through all the physical and mental tests to be placed on the transplant list, and as I would have been dependent on a cadaver donor, I knew the prospects of that at 59 years of age were minimal, so a lifetime of dialysis was what I was going to have to deal with. My aims then became much more simple. Avoid infections, be reliable with your medication and dialysis, and try to reduce the period of time I spent on that infernal machine, and to accept life as I had previously known it was something to be looked back on and enjoyed rather than missed. My blood and urine tests kept improving to the point that 1 month ago Lisa Paquin, a nursing consultant at St Vincent's, in consultation with my doctor, told me it was time to try and see if I could function without dialysis, and we were going to start a month's trial off PD altogether. I was ecstatic, but at the same time I was very nervous. I'd come to believe dialysis was keeping me alive and I did not want to get ill again. As the days progressed, I felt even better as the effects of constant dialysis were not exacting their toll on me, and I found that being meticulous with what I ate, taking my medication as I was supposed to, and walking several kilometres per day were helping my recovery. It was decided last week that plans could now be made to have the catheter removed from my stomach, and my dialysis days seemed to be behind me. I consider myself so fortunate. I had great support from the medical team at St Vincent's. They've been wonderful, and their support was vital. As those of you on dialysis know, it is a hard and lonely road, and tests your mettle in every way possible. It is also a road where emotional support is vital, and I know just how hard I struggled as an unattached solo flyer on this journey. My outcome was unexpected after 20 months of dialysis, and I can only now start to begin feeling semi-normal. I know just how hard all the people around the world on dialysis do it, and the carnage that kidney disease can exact on people. Yes, I leave the dialysis behind, hopefully permanently, and that in itself is a miracle. But my thoughts are also with those who have to deal with kidney failure, because I know firsthand the daily battle it is. I walk away with a greater understanding of how important relationships and love in our lives is, how dedicated the staff at dialysis clinics, particularly at St Vincent's, are, how hard it is to maintain your equilibrium when every part of you is challenged, and above all else, a much greater appreciation of the struggle that many other people go through day after day. For the first time since I got ill, I can look at my recovery now and justifiably ask, why me?